Hey guys, I'm Emma, this is Alex, and a couple of months ago we bought this camper van to use as our holiday home in the US.
Having used it for the last couple of months, we wanted to now give you a full tour and show you what we loved and what we hated.
This is our 97 Dodge Ram coach house with a wide body, and we have lovingly named her Phoenix after rising from the ashes of the first camper van we bought in the US, which didn't go quite to plan.
We have already done a full tour of a camper van that we've owned, and we only got to spend one night in it before it burned to the ground.
Yeah.
So this time we thought we would wait to give you the tour and actually spend some time in it, and now, having spent 2 months in it, we can officially show it off.
This is our outdoor setup. Now, one of the things that we love most about this van is the size of it. We didn't want to be getting anything too massive to be driving off-grid to places like this. We wanted to be nice and nimble and to be able to park in your average parking space. With this wide body design, you can see as you come back here, it actually juts out a bit at the back, which does create a lot more space, both for the sleeping area and for storage inside. Right above me, we have the awning, which I'll be completely honest with you, we don't use very often. I think just the style of trip that we've done where we're on the move constantly, we haven't really taken the time to set it all up out here like this very often.
It is a little bit finicky, and any kind of barrier like that is just going to put us off. So we just don't use it very often. But the thing that we do use all the time is our outdoor kitchen. We love this.
It's so good. Not only are we terrified to cook inside after our first van burnt down, but we also just really like the camping side of van life. So for us, cooking outside is a big part of that. They have this really cool design here for the table where you hook in these metal rods and just slide the table on top, and it works really, really well. The other part of our little outdoor kitchen setup here is a little cooler box. So we do actually have a fridge inside the van, which we'll show you a bit later, but that only works when you're plugged into a hookup, which we don't use very often. So this has been a lifesaver for us because you just fill it up with ice and it stays cold for ages.
We didn't get this until nearer the end of the trip, and I just wish we'd got it sooner. It has really suited our needs perfectly, and we'll definitely be using that going forward.
Yeah, and it even doubles up as a little table there, which I like. We actually have quite a few little random things on the outside of the van to show you. First off, plug sockets, which is super handy. We don't have the best electric setup as it stands, but when you're plugged into mains hookup, you can also use those just as standard plug sockets, which is very useful. Next up is the potable water. So it's pretty standard on most RVs, I think. You can just go to a potable water station, fill it up through there using a hose. This is something we don't actually use very often. This is a purpose-built storage container for a sewage hose, which we've never used. The main reason being we have fancier sewage hoses, which we tend to use more often just because they're better. But this one is kind of great because it stores the whole thing directly in there. It's just a really nice use of space. As you can see, this has never been used. All of the storage things that flip up actually have these little holders on the top, which I really like. It saves you having to faff around. It's just a little storage container under here. We keep the freshwater hose in here, but I guess you could keep absolutely anything you wanted in there. But we find that very handy. Saves us space in the garage section in the back of our van. And then just above it, we have the furnace, which we don't really play with or know much about, but this is the back end of it all. So that's where that lives.
Next up is another feature we really like, and it is just the back of the van, basically the garage or the garage, as I should be saying out here. I love and hate this for a couple of reasons. So first, big window, love.
Nice wide door. It opens
wide door.
Really nice and wide.
One thing I don't love is that we broke the door, so
it opens too wide now.
As you can see here in the garage, we've got mouse traps galore, solar panels, extension lead. We also keep our chairs in here and our outside cooker.
One thing I do want to point out back here is that there are seat belts in the floor sections here. So when the bed is actually in seat mode, you can have seat belts. So I think you can have up to 3 people sat on the back bench seat, which is pretty cool too. I'm just going to point out our number plate just because I like it so much. How cool is that? So in the UK, everyone just has boring number plates. Boring yellow number plates. Whereas here, you actually get to choose them, and depending which one you choose, the money goes to different places. So we've gone for the Wild Rivers one here in Montana.
Also, we bought our van from Darren and Laurie at DLN Autos. Little shout out to them because we love them.
They're awesome. Yeah, they make the whole buying process very nice and smooth. In here, we've got the leisure batteries and the freshwater connection. And then also the cable TV, if that's something you're interested in. We don't have a TV, but if you did, that's where that lives.
That's where you get your Fox News and your CNN, guys.
Whichever one you prefer. Here is where the fuel goes in, and we spend all of our money. This is our electric hookup. It's not actually very long, the one that's built in there. It probably only goes out a couple of meters. And a lot of the RV sites in the US are used to big rigs, so sometimes the distance can be quite long. So we do have an extension cord which we keep in the garage at the back. But this is where this one lives. And then this little compartment here goes up to one side. And it fits through there, so you can lock it shut so you don't get any more mice problems.
You don't get any. Yeah, you get loads of them, but they just don't come in that way.
Yeah. And then another storage bit down here. It's just endless storage outside of this van. This is where the propane lives. So this is where you'll top it up, turn it on and off, all that jazz. This is where we keep our poo pipes. So I showed you the sewage hose compartment on the other side that we don't use. These are the sewage hoses that we do use. Just because they're a bit longer, we have an extension on one of them, and we just find that they're really simple and easy to use. And this is the perfect place to keep them because they're out of the way and you can't smell them.
I know it's something so simple, but having this box just pull out is just really useful.
So good. Leading on with the theme of the poo pipes, this is where you do your dumping. So you connect the pipes to this and connect the sewage outlet to wherever you're dumping it to. That's the black waste, that's a grey waste.
And to complete the tour of the outside of the vehicle, we just have the front, and we have the wheel on the front, which has 2 months worth of bugs. Actually, that's probably 1 month worth of bugs. We cleaned that off.
Now is the part that everyone's really interested in. What's it like inside? Let's have a look, shall we? One thing I love about this is this double door system to get in. It is quite a narrow door, but when it's all open up, it feels quite breezy and nice. I like it. This table over here lives here, which is a nice use of space. We have a fire extinguisher down there, very important. And something I really like about this van is that I can go from the back to the front really easily. So this is the cab of our lovely camper van. I do love the original dash in here. It is not quite as old school as our first van that we bought, but it's still fairly retro and I do like it. As an English person, it really is a novelty to drive an automatic just in general, but to drive an automatic where I have to shift gears up here is extra fun. This van also boasts a lovely little stereo system here with a tape deck. We haven't actually got a chance to go and buy any tapes for this yet, which is a bit of a shame. We've mostly just been using this, which plugs straight into the cigarette lighter, and you can just use Bluetooth with your phone to actually play music. That's been working really well. It's got fully working air conditioning and heating, which is fantastic, especially in the US with the extreme weather here. We love this little section here. It's actually super handy. Not only have you got cup holders, which I think that comes pretty standard in most American vehicles, but you also have these other little slots which, you know, we put our phones in or other bits and pieces, and it is really, really handy. We also added this just to chuck our phone on, and it's super useful. Ashtray if you're a smoker. Glove box here as well for all your important bits of paperwork and things. And that's about it in the cab. The only other thing is that the seats do swivel. Now, we don't actually use the swivel that often because we're not inside most of the time. We tend to be sat outside of the van. But if the weather was naff, it is nice to know that you could just swivel these seats around and have a lot more living space. Also, for a nice bit of privacy, we do have a curtain that wraps all the way around the entire cab to keep those prying eyes out. It's not in the best condition, this curtain. I don't know if you can see, there's like little bits of not holes, but near enough to holes all the way around it. I think it's just really old and been used a lot, so that is something that we would like to replace in the long run.
So what she's saying is if you want to peep on the beans and you really want to, you can probably see through those holes that we've put there ourselves to be watched.
Now is the kitchen time. So this is probably the part of the van that irritates me the most, I'll be completely honest. It's a nice size, but I just feel that it's not the most practical. So for example, we have a sink here. Great, it doesn't need to be a big sink, it works really well. But this whole unit here, this microwave being in the way, makes it really hard to do the washing up. So you end up kind of underneath here, hunched over, doing it. And by the end, your back is in agony. It's not ideal.
Yeah, my back has aged about 20 years.
Yeah, Al tends to do the washing up, I tend to do the cooking. So he's been the one bearing the brunt of that most of the time. I don't think this is something that I necessarily want to keep in the van going forward. So if we do get rid of all this, I really won't miss it.
The same goes for this coffee maker that's just randomly there.
Yeah,
we also
never
haven't
used
that.
it. We've also here, we've got an extractor fan over the cooker, which you can switch on using the propane that we showed you outside. On here, you can see everything going on in the van, which is very handy. So you've got the battery, the gas tank for the propane, the fresh water, which apparently we're running very low on, the whole tank for the black waste, which is getting a bit full, and the whole tank for the grey waste, which still has loads of room. So that's really nice to always know what's going on. All you have to do is kind of push that down and you know where you stand. We do have a fridge inside, but we rarely use it because it's only useful when we're plugged into a hookup. We will probably be replacing this with something that will work whilst we're on the road, not only when we're at campsites, but it's pretty big, pretty old. Not the best, to be quite honest, but it's there and it works.
That's it for the kitchen setup. Over here we have our power setup. So we are just using the Jackery solar generator, which we top up with solar panels, or when we're on shore power or when we're driving. We absolutely love this. We use this all of the time to back up all our cameras and all that kind of equipment. I want to show you my favourite storage cupboard as well. It's just a random cupboard, but it's where I keep all my electronics and it makes me happy. It does have plugs in the back, meaning that I can charge stuff in there. So while we go out, it could not be on show, so people won't see that we're charging our expensive equipment inside this cupboard. So yeah, I absolutely love this.
I also want to show you guys some of the other storage because there's just so much in this van. It is quite narrow, so we're always having to like move around each other like that. So over here we have this shelf, which is great for just random stuff. We've got toilet paper, bear spray, you know, the essentials. And then we've got cupboards all the way down here and shelves all the way here, which we tend to just use for like plates and cups and bits and pieces like that. They kind of have this lift up mechanism so they don't slide out as you're driving, which is quite nice. This is our pantry, which is really handy. The good thing about this is no matter what you need to shove in there, you can find a hole that's roughly the right size.
Talking about shoving, show them this cupboard behind you. This is the shoving cupboard.
The shoving cupboard.
You've got to be careful, it doesn't all fall out.
This is our laundry / extra bag storage. Ugh, the shelf above it is towels, scarves, extra bits and pieces like that, and then we've got all our toiletries and stuff on the top level here. But it's really nice, big, spacious cupboard. I guess you could use it as a clothes storage cupboard as well, but we don't actually have that many clothes with us. So what we tend to do is put our clothes in these little ones. So this is Alex's side. And then you've got my cupboard over here, which is exactly the same, just on the opposite side. So you can fit pretty much everything that we need for a 3-month trip. Next, I'm just gonna take my shoes off so I can get on the bed and show you this area. This is my favorite part of the van because it is a mega bed. It's enormous. I absolutely love how big this is. It definitely could be more comfortable because it is a seat to bed setup. So it's not designed purely as a bed, which is both good and bad. You sacrifice comfort, but you also have the practicality of being able to have a nice sofa setup in here, especially if the weather is bad outside. To turn it into a sofa is really easy. You just pull up some of the cushions and you just push this button here up or down and it does it for you. It's so lazy. I love it. as we've mentioned before, we tend to eat and entertain ourselves outside most of the time. So we just keep this as a bed 24/7. The only time we've ever put it up is when we've had visitors around and we wanted to come in and sit at the back. But other than that, we've just kept it as a bed. The other reason I love this bed so much is look at all these massive windows going all the way around. So whenever we get to wake up in beautiful locations, they're not always beautiful, sometimes it's like a crappy RV park or a supermarket car park or something like that, but other times when we wake up in beautiful locations, you can lift up the curtains, look out, and you're just right there, you're in the view. We also have an AC unit up here which blows really cold air. You can also use it as a fan, so that is super handy, especially if you're traveling in the summertime. And then I guess the last bit of this section back here will be the storage. Again, we have so much storage in this van. We don't even use most of it because we didn't bring that much stuff with us. There's different light fixtures dotted around for different kind of lighting needs, which is also really nice. So you can have bright lights, dim lights, whatever you like. And also there's a ton of power sockets around the van. So these only work when we are on hookup currently. So that is something we will look into doing in the future, perhaps upgrading it. But these are just really handy to have next to the bed. So if we're laying in bed watching a movie or something like that and we want to charge our laptop at the same time, no issues. Same with our phones, stuff like that. And you can also leave things on charge in these cupboards and have them plugged in there, which is really handy.
And the final thing to show you on the van is my favourite. Well, it's not really my favourite, but I think it's the most
cupboard.
It's the most hilarious of the whole van, and is in this cupboard at the foot of the bed. It's exactly what you want, and it's the toilet situation and the shower situation. So I mean, if you had a really rough night, you can, you know, and clean at the same time.
Obviously peeing in the cupboard isn't the most glamorous way to go to the toilet, but it's been really useful for us. I use it in the night all the time. I guess the only time where it's really not so nice is when you need twosies, but then the other person just goes and waits outside while you do your business. It's really not that bad.
This setup is ridiculous. This shower curtain does go all the way around. And you're wondering, where on earth would all the water run? Well, of course, there's a hole in the floor, silly. Because obviously, we've only attempted to use this once, and we probably won't attempt to use it again. Go back and watch the video with the shower if you want to see the whole situation, but it's not something that we are going to be using probably ever again. So that's it for our tour of our lovely campervan Phoenix.
Yeah, although there are things that we would change about it, overall, we love it.
We will be doing upgrades in the future, but these are the things we couldn't have found out without living in it.
Yeah.
So now that we've spent the time in it, just feel very happy that we can make it exactly how we would like it.
Let us know down in the comments below, what do you think of this layout? Is there stuff about it that you would change? What about it would you keep? Let us know down below.
And if you liked the video, give it a big fat thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Nothing left to say. We'll see you next time, and beans out.